All right, I think we're live. Yes, we are. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Word with Ty Brownlow podcast edition. I'm doing something totally different. I'm not in the studio. I have my own podcast now. And my very first show, I'm talking about sports culture. And I have a specialist I brought on with me today. Let me give you a couple of words about him. Athlete, role model, radio host. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Shawn Sierra, a.k.a. the Superback. Welcome to the show, brother.
What up, Ty from the Shy? What's up, big dog?
What's going on, man? Hey, I am totally stoked that you're here on my very first podcast. I got my boy on the show. We're here to talk about what we know, and I'm just ready to get into it. So you ready?
Ready. I'm born ready. Talk about this, baby.
All right. Okay, so my first question to you, Mr. Shawn Sierra, what is your background in sports and how did you get interested in it?
My background in sports, it goes back to, here's the funny thing. I was able to swim before I was able to walk.
Really?
All right, my mom was it when I was born. My mom took me to the YMCA. I think right from the hospital. No, I'm kidding. But you know how they have the toddlers in the water. Mm-hmm. So I was able to swim before I was able to walk. So I've been active ever since then. I got into t-ball at 3 or 4. Okay. The games where it takes about 45 hours because kids don't know which way to run. They run to the pitcher, they run to third base, they run to mom. Yeah, so I got involved in that as a kid, and then when we moved, I was playing baseball. We moved to the new neighborhood, new house. They had a football and a basketball team. Well, I had been watching football and basketball on TV. All right, one of the first games I remember was the Super Bowl with the Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles with Wilbur Montgomery, Ron Jaworski. Wow. Yeah, I'm hating myself.
That's old school, bro.
Yeah, it's old school. And I saw it. I remember watching, like, man, I want to play that. And so I went to the new school I went to. They had a football team. They had a basketball team. Man, so I got there late. Right around September 15th. So we started school like the day after we moved. So the football team I couldn't join my first year because they had already gone through summer camp. But I got to play my next year in 5th grade. I got to play football. I got to play basketball. I still played baseball. My cousins, some of my older cousins, they're gangbangers, but they love sports, man. They love the bat. They love the hoop. They love to watch football. And I'll tell you what, they were Mexican gangbangers. They loved hockey.
What?
They loved hockey.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on, man. How do you... All right, look.
I'm dead serious.
How do you get into hockey being a Mexican gaming?
I have no idea, bro. There's a picture rolling around the family. Before we moved to the new house, I used to live right by DeVork Park over on Cullerton and Morgan. Okay. And there's a picture roaming around the family somewhere. Somebody's got it. Me and one of my cousins is one of the gangbangers. They froze a pond, like the field, and there's a picture of us on skates playing hockey. I was like 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you talk about getting involved in sports, I got involved in sports at a young age. So when we moved to the new spot over on 61st and Fairfield, and they had the basketball team, they had a football team. Man, I had been watching this for years. You know what I'm saying? I watched Walter Payton. I watched Marcus Allen. Tony Dorsett. These are my guys I loved growing up, as running back, because that's what I wanted to play. I was running back. I watched the Iceman, George Gervin, back in the day, and I just loved playing sports. And I would play sports with my cousins, the gangbangers, and when they weren't doing their thing, we'd be out at the park, we'd be playing, and it just built. I was a good athlete. I just happened to be a good athlete, and man, it just kept going on and on. And then I became a really good football player, really good basketball player. And, I did that in high school. I stopped playing basketball my junior year of high school to concentrate on football. Mm-hmm. I didn't play a lot my junior year, but my senior year, I was at the Catholic League Player of the Year. Okay. Got a scholarship to go to Holy Cross out in Worcester, Massachusetts. So I did that. I got back when I graduated, literally 1 week after I got back. I get a phone call from one of my old high school coaches. She's like, "Hey, man," he goes, "Did you graduate?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You done with your eligibility?" I said, "Yeah." How would you like to play football in Italy? What?
What?
I'm like, I'm like, is this a joke? Am I on candid camera? He's like, no. He said the running back left, and they need a running back. I was like, hold on, okay, no problem. So my coach called me Monday. We met for lunch. They faxed over the contract. Back when you faxed back in the day. Now you just email. Well, they faxed over the contract to him. I signed it. So he called me Monday. I flew out Tuesday, got there Wednesday, practiced Thursday, played Saturday.
Wow, that is insane.
So crazy, man. Then after I was done with football, I played semi-pro here in and around Chicago for a long time. Made the Mid-State Football League Hall of Fame. And then I coach, man. You know what? I had some good coaches, good football coaches throughout my life. And you call them football coaches, but they're life coaches, and because football, I believe, is a microcosm of life because of the fact that it's like life because you can't do anything on your own. Everybody says, I made this myself. No, you didn't. There's somebody along the way who helped you out. There's somebody who gave you a break. There's somebody who's, without their input, would not have allowed you to get to where you were. And because football is such an interdependent sport, to me, it's the closest thing to life. And, I had a lot of great coaches growing up, from my grammar school coaches to my high school coach to my college coach. And so I wanted to give that back to some of the kids who might not have had the ability to go to a Catholic school like I did, because my mom worked 2 jobs for 30 years. So I'm like, what? Let me give some of the things that I had, that I was fortunate enough to receive, the kids who might not be able to go to that school or go and get that type of a role model, you know what I'm saying, and kind of pay it forward. So that's why I coached in public schools for a long time, man.
Okay, well, man, that's a great story, dude. Like, playing football in Italy, like, I can only imagine that phone call. Like, what? I mean, in Italy? Like, first and foremost, I didn't even know they had football in Italy. It's like, you
and me both.
Wow. Okay. So you have a extensive background in sports. Let me ask you this question. Like, in your opinion, how has sports culture evolved over time? Like, what are the good and bad parts of sports culture? Like, like today you have fantasy sports, you have fantasy betting, you have all these things that factor into sports culture. But in your eyes, how has it evolved over time?
Sports was just kind of that cool thing off to the side. Okay. With the way the culture is now, everybody can get involved, and that's a good and a bad thing. You get guys who never played the sport, talking about the sport because, they're 5'8", 160 pounds, but but they're talking about stats because, fantasy football. They're talking about sabermetrics and launch angles and 3-point rates and percentages and things like that. And so they stay connected to the game that way. To me, numbers are nice, but I have a better feel. Give me the eye test. I want to see. Like, don't give me numbers. Those are nice, but I want to see. I want to see. I want to see if a kid's got heart. I want to see if a player's got heart. I want to see if he's playing just for the money. Those guys, the newer culture nowadays, there's a lot more people involved just because of the podcasts that people do nowadays. They talk and they write for these tons of different sites, and they think they have some are very knowledgeable, but most of them aren't. But nonetheless, it just gives a lot more people a chance to stay closer to sports, or I shouldn't say get close to sports. And you gotta respect people who ask dumb questions. I can't stand dumb questions.
I know that about you.
And so now you get the kids who are the people who are trying to get a response. They're trying to be, get that sound bite. So they'll ask silly questions or whatever. But it allows more access to more people. And like I said, that's a good and bad thing. And it just depends on, how far they push it. So before it was just an exclusive of people. Like, before, like, there were like 10 people in the locker room, like a Jim Rose, like a Dan Roan, like, and that was it, like the same 10, 15 mugs, you know what I mean? That's it. But now, all the websites, and now CBS has different things, Fox and everything. And there's so many people in locker rooms nowadays that it just gives people more access to athletes that they didn't have before.
Well, I mean, and to piggyback off your point, I remember a point in time when ESPN was just ESPN. There was no ESPN2. There was no ESPN3. There was no ESPNU. There was no ESPNW or whatever that. I mean, dude, I think ESPN has like over like 20 channels, man. Just for one network.
Yep.
Like, I'm out here in LA. There's a Fox West. There's a Fox XX West. There's like Southwest. There's like Fox this, Fox that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay. So I do understand your point. I do understand that to the degree. But let's also state on what you talked about earlier. I want to talk about technology in sports because you were talking about launch angles and things of that nature, you know, that goes on in sports these days. Is it too much? Or, you know, are we just evolving to the point of, hey, you know what? I know all of this. Let me go out here and just, man, be better. Like, what's really going on with technology in sports these days?
It depends. You know, again, you get a lot of people who believe in what it is that they do. So you got the sabermetrics people, you know, the StatCast guys, and those guys that say, well, according to the numbers, and you know, 73% of the time when he comes up with with runners on second and third, you know, he strikes out. So you have to take those numbers into account. Okay. However, there's still that feel that you can't get from, you know, if 70% of the time he strikes out, there's still a 30% chance he's going to get a hit or do something else. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of thing where people can get into, you know, you give numbers and, you know, it's sexy because you're like, wow, I know that 70% of the time in this situation, he'll do this. So I can adjust what I want to do from there. So it's good to an extent. But you can't just go by the numbers. You know, the technology has kind of taken over, and you know, it started off with Billy Bean, with Moneyball, that whole deal. And you know, it's kind of, you know, and again, it's given more people access to athletes. And I'm not a big numbers guy. I understand they play a role in it, but there's just nothing like being able to see, being able to feel a moment, be in the moment. Because you know, this guy could be 0 for 12 against this guy. Against a pitcher, but you know, for some reason you see him in the batting cages, and you just got a feeling, you know. And people are like, "Why are you putting this guy up? He's over." But then he comes and gets a hit because that's just a feel that you get, and that you can't quantify with numbers. So, numbers technology has gotten a little too crazy with BABIPs and all these other little acronyms and things.
Well,
you know,
yeah.
when you start talking like that, a lot of it that tells me a lot that you may not know the game very, very well. but yeah, man. So stats, they're good and bad, but it's just giving a lot of people, and I think too many people, too much access, and it gets clouded. It gets clouded. Like they have their, you know, the nerds who know the numbers and can spout out a number and say, you know, oh, he should be ready for this. Like, dude, you've never played. You don't understand playing. You know, you can talk about it and watch it, right? But to understand it fully, you have to have gone and walked those shoes.
So let me stay on football for a moment. Like in today's, in today's game, I'm even going to go college football.
Okay.
You have players who they're not going to play in these bowl games. They're saving themselves to, you know, they're saving themselves for the draft. They're saving themselves for the combine. Now, in a sense, to me, okay, I get it. You know, like you're branding yourself, and you know, man, if you can build up as much hype as possible, if you had a pretty okay season and you're projected to go in the top 15, why would you like want to risk injury, even though you've been risking injury every single week you're going out there to play football? To like play in this bowl game where you can possibly shine and boost your stock even higher, but refusal to do so because you figure you're going to go to this combine and compete against everyone else who's like in your field or whatever. You know, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Because there's a guy named Jalen Smith from Notre Dame and Willis McGahee, who you see in a bowl game that they got jacked up. And you know, some people realize, look, I got what it takes to get to the league. Mm-hmm. I may not have what it takes to stay there for a long time, So let me get what I can get before they kick me out. You follow me?
Gotcha.
And I understand it from a business perspective. You know, one more game. If I got through the regular season, I got through the conference championship game, okay, and I'm healthy, and I got one more game. You know, it's my senior year, or I realize I'm coming out. I understand it. But to me, that's a selfish act because of the fact that these guys, there's other people on my team. And this is why I love football so much, because it's so interdependent. Okay, because the fat, ugly kid that you didn't want to hang out with when you were in grammar school because he was fat and ugly. Well, that turns into one of your linemen, and he's your best friend now because he allows you to get 1,000 yards. Okay, and then that weird kid who can run really fast and no one really likes, well, he's a wide receiver, and all the different cultures, religions, races, creeds, they all come together for one common goal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when you take one of those components away, because I know, and football is a very it's a sport where you hold each other accountable because you're in the weight room in the off season, you're in speed training in the off season, you're in the conditioning in the off season. So I know you put in the work that I put in,
right?
And I know that if you're not there, you choose not to play, and we've been expecting you to play, I'd be a little salty. I understand, you know, because again, we're talking millions of dollars, and for some people, this is generational wealth. And for some people, they're just going to blow it off, and next thing you know, in 5 years, they're going to be broke as a joke. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I could never do that. I would never have done that had I been put in that situation, because my contributions to this team affects not just me, but affects the other, you know, in college, other 90 people on the team. You know what I'm saying? For me, I couldn't do it. But again, I understand why some people do it. And if that's what they choose to do, that's cool. But for me, I just could never do it. I personally think it's selfish. I personally think you let your teammates down because they're expecting you to play. They had you made a commitment to this university. This university put you on that platform to shine, and it got to the point where now pro scouts are there, and you know, to not play for your boys and not play for the school that they gave you a shot or gave you that scholarship, I just think is a little. I think it's low down and dirty.
Okay, all right. You know what? I just want to ask you one more thing about this, and we're going to get out of this and move on. What do you think? What are your thoughts on like load management in basketball? Like, that's just something that's been thrown out there lately, and that's kind of funny to me. Every time I hear the word load management, I'm like, okay, like, what the hell does that mean? Like, I have load management going to work every damn day. So, like, but I can't call off, you know. Well, I can, but they take money for that, so no. So please tell me, what are your thoughts on load management in the NBA? I see your face. Right. Okay. I see your face says it all.
You know exactly where I'm going with this garbage. Okay. You know, this era of athlete is so entitled. We've given them everything. We've kowtowed to their demands. We acquiesced everything that they wanted. And this load management crap is just that. Okay, I don't remember Magic, Larry, or Michael, Kareem, Shaq, Penny, Kobe. Man. I don't remember any of those guys saying, hey, you know what? Let me take a day off. Yeah, I'm tired. No, you know what it was? You're a competitor. And for them, it was never about the money. Yeah, they were happy with the money. Yeah. Okay, but it was never about the money. It was about being the best. And you know what? Every night, I got 82 chances. I'm getting paid $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, $7 million. In Mike's case, $30 million. Okay, a year to come and show I'm the best. Why do I get this money? Because of what I can do. 82 times. 82 times they're asking you to do this. Wow. Not a million, not 5 days a week. 82 times that you have to perform. And I think, and people sit there, so explain to me why Mike can do it, Magic can do it, Kobe, all these guys can do it when the technology wasn't as advanced back in the day as it is now.
True.
Why can athletes back then do it, but now you need load management? You fly in chartered planes, you stay in 5-star hotels, okay? You have personal trainers, you have personal masseuses, you have personal chefs at the facilities. You literally can go to the facility 9 to 5 and get your breakfast, lunch, and dinner eaten, cooked, and made for you at the facility with a massage, with a hot tub, with a personal assistant to stretch you. Everything you need.
Wow.
But then I'm going to do that today, and then I'm going to take tomorrow off. No, it bothers me to no end. It bugs me, Kawhi Leonard, I know you're a stud, but you know what? Man up. Because here's the issue. There's a lot of people in this city, you're getting paid multi-millions of dollars. What about the family who's, is kind of struggling and dad's working a couple jobs or mom's working 2 jobs or whatever to get, and they buy a ticket because you're coming to town. Mm-hmm. You know what? Because they want to see Kawhi because you're my favorite player. Oh, I'm going to take the night off.
Yeah.
What? Well, why the hell I even come? You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that's tough? You go to work, try working a regular job. And this is where athletes don't get it. Is that you don't know who's watching. You don't know what kind of, and the kid's because they're gonna say, oh, he took the load, man. He's got the night off. Well, why did he get the night off? 82 times. I'm not a big fan of it. I hate it. I think it's the worst thing in the world, and it goes along with the vibe of this culture nowadays, and I can't stand it to save my life.
Okay, so really,
hopefully I let you know what side I took.
Oh, okay. Well, man. Well, I think I know your stance on that. Well, no, actually, that question was for a couple of guys at work. They're Clipper fans, and you see Kawhi's face here in LA. As a matter of fact, his face is on a bus that just rolled past the house now. So, yeah. So that question was a little shot thrown at Kawhi. Yeah, I'm throwing shots. But I'm not a Lakers fan at all. Trust me, I'm not. Bulls all day. So
good.
I want to hear your thoughts on this. Youth sports and parents' input. Let me go a little bit further. Since I'm here in LA, oh, well, LeBron's here in LA, isn't he? Oh, I believe he is. His son plays basketball not far from here. Oh, you know what? He shows up to the games and, his son dunks. He runs out on the floor. It's all good. His son, hey, you know what? I got us on TV today. We're on ESPN2 or one of these other ESPN channels we're on, and we're playing ball. But, what about that guy, and you just referenced to this, what about that guy on the team that may not get in all the time? When is he going to get his chance to shine? That sort of bothers me, and they may not have that parent there. But I just want to hear, what are your thoughts on this? Because I see this going on constantly, and the more we watch youth sports, the more you see more pro athletes there. And I know it can be an inspiration, but it can also be a negative as well, to the less popular or,
talented kids.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on it?
On like LeBron showing up and stealing the show?
Yes.
And I hate it.
You know what?
I hate it, dude.
It's like that as well.
I hate it. You know what? Be a dad. Okay? What's really funny, and LeBron has said this the same. I heard him a month or two ago, and they asked him, how does Bronny feel about having you, LeBron James as his dad? He's like, he's a teenager. Like, you don't want to talk to me. He don't want, he does what teenagers do. They don't think, you know what I mean? He just knows his dad is who he is, but he's still dad. And there's got to come a point in time where you're dad, right? You're not Mr. Superstar. And I think to do that that time when he was dunking in the layup line with his kid, I thought that was the worst thing in the world. All right? You're a dad, okay? You're not LeBron James superstar. You're Bronny's dad at that particular point. And you have to understand that parents have to get used to being their son's or their child's mom, their child's dad. It's not about you anymore, okay? It's not. And parents who do that and parents who try and upstage it obviously shows the insecurity in themselves. But what does it do to their kids? What does that do psychologically to your kids? Because now you don't want your dad around. Because if you're trying to be cool, you're trying to mack it to a girl, you're trying to holler at somebody, but your dad comes around, well, what chance do I got? Because my dad's a multimillionaire. My dad's a football player. My dad's a basketball player. My dad's a hedge fund guy. My dad is this. You follow me? It steps on the toes and the development of your child. And as opposed to saying, who was the coach? I can't remember. It might have been the guy from Rutgers. And he talked about, he's a football coach at Rutgers, and he said his son plays ball. And he's like, Dad, what do you think? He goes, don't talk to me. Talk to your coach. He said, I'm not stepping on his toes. I said, his job is to coach you. My job is not to coach you. My job is to raise you as a child. When we're alone in the summer, when we're doing something, then I'll teach you, and then that's our time. But when there's a situation when you You're with your team. He's king. He runs it. I'm a dad. And I think parents and players need to realize that it's their kids' time. And a lot of times, parents will live vicariously through their kids because for whatever reason, okay, and they want some of that shine. Let your kid have your shine, because there's going to be an animosity that festers, and it's going to grow. And you don't even realize the seed that you're planting when you do this. Okay, a lot of parents don't, because I was just doing it. It was this cool. My son loved it. How do you know your son loved it? You know, people are so caught up in themselves, they forget about their kids oftentimes. So I was really upset when LeBron did that. There was no reason for it. Don't worry about putting on a show for his high school kids. You get paid to put on a show. Okay, you get paid multi-millions and millions of dollars to put on a show at the Staples Center or at back in Cleveland or wherever you were playing at that time. Leave your kid out of it. Be a dad. And I love when Michael's kids were playing at Whitney Young. Like, he was in there, and you know, he'd be at Whitney Young at almost every game if he was as long as he's home, not on the road. You know, he'd be there, and he would just talk with he was a dad. He would talk. You know, obviously everyone else knew who the hell he was. You know who he is, but he just hang with everybody and talk. You know, talk like men do, like, you know, about each other's kids and this in the stands. And it was never a thing of him going out to, you know, in the layup line, nothing like that. He was a dad. And you know what? Parents got to be parents. Let your kids get their shine on. Let your kids build some self-esteem, because now you're really stunting their self-esteem in your kids, because they'll never be their dad or their mom, whoever it is.
No, that's true. Hey, you know what? That is a very, very valid point. And I believe, honestly, for all the good that LeBron James may feel this is doing for his child. And don't get me wrong, it may do something great for the school, and it may do good for everyone else around Bronny, except Bronny.
Exactly.
You know what?
And at the end of the day, that's your flesh and blood, and your job is to protect him and raise him and allow him to feel loved, respected, and allow him to grow. Don't you know what I'm saying? You've done your growing. You are who you are. Let him grow. Let him be him. You sit in the background. You stay in the shadows, and let Bronny be Bronny.
So I'm gonna ask this question, and you've seen this in sports, and I've seen this in sports as well. So let's take a person like Bronny. Let's say in the next 5 to 6 years, Bronny will be in the NBA. What if Bronny isn't like dad? Then what? You know, what does that psychologically do to a kid? You know, like, I always wondered that, because we've seen, like, the children of famous athletes go out here and, you know, try to be athletes in the same sports that their parents were. Some do prevail. Some prevail even at a rate higher than their parents. But most, if you know, man, there's a good percentage who do not live up to the hype that their parent lived up to. And I wonder what that does to them psychologically throughout the year.
It all depends on how their parent raises their child. If the parent says, listen, you can go into whatever you want. I got more than enough money. You want to go into basket weaving and make that a profession, and go get your ass to the basket weaving classes and be the best basket weaver you want to be. If you want to go and be an architect, I can put you to architectural school. Do whatever you want. If you want to follow in my footsteps, I'll do that too. Don't push them. Let them go into whatever route it is that they want to go. And if they choose to go in your route, then you support them. Don't say, well, listen, here's what I did. No. Allow them to be them. Allow them to make mistakes. Yeah, of course, give them some pointers to shorten the learning curve. But if you allow them to, and they'll know the support you have. If you're pushing them so hard, if you want it more than your child, then that's a bad thing. Yeah, that's a bad thing. And then your child knows. For whatever reason, we as adults, we think kids are stupid. Kids are stupid, and they are so intelligent. You know, from the baby, when you're a baby and you cry and they pick you up, and you're like, oh, guess what? If I keep crying, someone picks me up. Guess what? I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Okay. Wow. But us with all of our degrees and this bachelor degree and master's degree and PhD, well, let me pick them up. But he's doing exactly what you want. So kids are smart, and they're able to tell that you want it more than they do. And so a lot of times, because of the fact, especially if, you know, in our community where a lot of fathers aren't around, So if your father is around and he's pushing you harder, you're like, well, man, I really don't want to let my dad down. He's done this, this, and this for me. He's been there. But at the end of the day, it's still your dream. It's your decision. Dads and moms can't say, hey, you know what, your dad was a basketball player, football player, hockey, soccer, whatever player, you should follow in his footsteps. No. If you do and you want him more than your kid, yeah, it's going to have a big time effect on him, because your child's going to feel that they let you down by not being as good or better than you. And that's a horrible feeling for a child to feel. I mean, man, have you ever had that feeling where you think you may have let your parents down? Because I have, and that's, dude, I'd rather be beat up by like 10 mugs, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That'll heal. That when you get that feeling that you felt that you let, like I felt when I let my mom down, there's no consoling it, no nothing. That is one of the worst feelings in the world. All right, and that's what you're doing to your child when you push that issue. Let them do what they want. Okay, let them choose. And if you do, and they decide to go your route, and they're not as successful, they understand that you stood in the background, you supported them, and you support them in whatever else it is that they're going to do.
Yeah. Hey, spot on, my friend. Spot on. So let me ask you this. Like, you cover all types of sports. You cover some of everything. The relationship between player and coaches, players and management in today's sports. What's your opinion on the relationship between the two?
And it varies by sport, but
Okay.
the sentiment for all intents and purposes is the same. The players are a lot more disrespectful because of, especially in basketball, it's a players' league. All right, the players, I want to be traded. Okay, well, we'll trade you back, as opposed to no. You're gonna play for us, and if you're healthy and you withhold services within 30 days, well, guess what? You can be suspended, and your eligibility for free agency gets delayed a year. So have fun with that. Okay, players, and it starts in grammar school in Top Warner. We do so much for our players and cut corners for them, when really you should be actually being more stringent with them. The attitude that they have is, I don't want. It started me. I remember Derek Coleman, DC. I remember from the Qs. The new. I forgot. It was Rick Brown, Dan Brown. Who's the basketball? Larry Brown was a coach for the Nets. He's like, listen, son, we have a dress code here. It's and it's $500 or $1,000 for every time you're not dressed. We're going on the road. You're not suit and tie. He signed a check and he gave him a blank check. It's like, here, fill it out at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a way that type of mentality that's pervasive throughout sports, because the relationship. People don't talk to people anymore. Especially nowadays where people have bad people skills. Because they can't text the coach to say something, so they'll do it in social media. It's just there's a lack of respect. And then when you get parents piling on, those parents we just talked about who want it more than their kid, and they attack a coach. What are you doing? They'll attack a substitution, or they'll yell at him because of a coach because of a substitution change, or because he made a bad call, or because of whatever, and they lost the game. You know what I mean? And that type of thing, and being a teacher, how parents now side with the kids more than they side with the authority figure.
Yes. Marshawn Lynch. Yeah. That whole incident. Yeah. He's being too hard on my kid. Oh my God.
Yep.
But thank you though. Thank you. Now, man, we're getting close to the end, and I got two more questions. My question one is, tell me a little bit more about your show and what do you cover? Tell us about Shawn Sierra.
So my show is called Shawn and Maya in the Morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I tried getting in on a score real quick. I came to a crossroads of teaching, and for 15 years I had been telling my kids, my athletes and my students, do what you love. Find out what it is that you love. Everyone's always worried about the money, and I get it. Money makes the world go round. But when you do what you love, it becomes, because people see the passion in what it is that you're doing. Okay, and people support people who are doing what they're passionate about, because so many people are forced into decisions that they can't do what they love to do. Okay, maybe you got a girl pregnant, or you got pregnant early. Now you can't really do that right away because you got to provide for a child, or you have family responsibilities where you need to take care of the family at a young age way too soon. So whatever the situation is, they couldn't follow whatever it is that they love. Okay, I always told my kids that. I said, and then the internet was starting to come around. I said, with this thing called the internet, I said, you'll be able to do it, and you'll have people to follow. You just have to market it. Yeah. So when I came to a crossroads, I wanted to get into sports broadcasting because I heard so many people talk about sports and didn't know a damn thing about sports. Never played a sport, or haven't played it since grammar school or high school at some wacko school that you know what I'm saying, it doesn't produce anybody. Right. And you're sitting there and you're calling this guy a bum, and you're calling this guy, and you're making money on it. I was like, hold on, player. I was like, wait, you sit there and they talk all this and you're making money, and you don't know what it's like to get hit by a 300-pound defensive tackle? Right. And you don't know what it's like to get dunked on by a 6'7" dude? And you don't know what it's like to have chin music from a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, but he's a bum?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and so that's why I wanted to get into sports broadcasting. So when I hit that crossroads, I said, do I go back into teaching, or do I go do what I really want to do? And I said, if I didn't go do sports broadcasting, I would have been the biggest hypocrite for the last 15 years after telling my kids. So which is why I did that. I didn't have any response. I didn't have a wife or kids at the time, so I could survive. You know what I mean? Again, if I had other responsibilities, I might not have been able to do that without the support of a wife and family. You know what I mean? Gotcha. So my situation, I was fortunate. So I got into that, and then I tried to get in a couple different places, and in Chicago, it's very cliquish.
Yeah.
you live in LA. You know who runs media over in LA. You know who runs stuff over there. Well, they run stuff over here too. Okay. And if you're not in the clique,
I'm not in that clique.
It's going to be very difficult. So with the advent of the internet, I'm like, you know what, we can do this. I can do it myself. So after a couple of different companies and groups I was with, Maya and I decided to start our own thing, because there's not enough representation of Black people, brown people, Asian people, okay? And we look at sports different, okay? It's not right or wrong, or, one's more righter than the other. It's different. That's all it is, okay? And so why not give some Black folks an opportunity to have their views expressed? Why not give some Hispanic guys an opportunity or a platform to give their opinions? Why not give a woman the right to have her opinion expressed? Why not? Okay, yeah. So that's what we did, and that's what we do. We talk sports. We talk baseball, football, basketball, hockey. We'll talk tennis. We'll talk golf. We'll talk MMA, and that's why I built it, because there's not I want to create an even playing field for Black and brown people and women as well. Because if your material sucks, then it's going to suck. But I don't want you to say that, listen, I didn't get a chance because the man held me back. I didn't get a shot here. I didn't get a shot there. If your stuff's good, the numbers are going to show up. People are going to tune in. People are going to listen to it, because we're going to market this thing pretty darn good. And people can understand. People can tell when someone is knowledgeable and good. You can't BS a mass of people very often, especially when it comes to sports. And so if your stuff is good, it's good. If it's not, well then, maybe this isn't for you. But at least, one, you took a shot at it. And two, you say you had a fair shot. And that's all we're asking for in life as a man, a woman, gay, straight, homosexual, trans. Just give me a fair shot like everybody else and see where I stand. If I fail, then you know what? I can hold my head up walking away saying, you know what? I tried it. That wasn't for me. I didn't get held back, and there was no backdoor politics, no nothing. I need to do something else. So that's exactly why we do it. We talk sports. It's not even a job, bro. It's fun. You've been talking sports since you were like 5 or 6 years old. Same here. Me and my boys in high school and grammar school and high school. And it's great, man, getting to meet all these athletes and just talking sports with people, man. It's fun. It's really, really fun.
Well, that's what's up, man. Well, I can say I do tune into the show from time to time when I'm not busy, being slave drive at work. I'm not shot down my job, but anyway, but yes, hey, I have a message for you to tell Maya to leave those damn cats alone. All right, let those cats be free, okay?
Dude, that's funny. She woke up late today and she was like, she texted me because I'm like, where the hell is she? It was like 8:45, and she's like, and she texted me like, if my cat hadn't woke me up, she goes, I'd still be sleeping. He's like, hits her in the face. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Cat's like, damn woman,
no,
it's too late. It's too late. You should be out of here already.
Oh God. Oh God. All right, man. So this brings me to my last question. This is the question that my show's known for. And man, you have the esteemed honor to have this question on my first podcast. Mr. Shawn Sierra, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
Relentless.
Why?
Because I won't stop till I get what I want. And it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 2014 to 2020, 6 years. right. Yeah, relentless. And just because I'm relentless, or when you hear the word relentless, doesn't mean that I'm always rah and you know, I have my days, you know, where you question everything and you know life beats your ass every once in a while, you know what? But that's the time where you got to remember, why did I start this? And you think about all the the good things that I got, and why I want to do what I'm doing, why I wanted to go down this route. And for me, I have an outlet when I get like that. I go work out, I go swimming, I'll do CrossFit and get my mind back focused, and just not stopping. It's tough to be the guy who never gives up. It's almost impossible. And that was the one thing I learned from my football days, because I was so small as a kid. I was real small. And I'll never forget, real quick story, my freshman year at St. Rita, we're going down the hall. I was 5'9", maybe $150. Okay, big defensive. We got 4 minutes between passing periods, and I'm like 30 feet away from my door. I'm just walking. I had glasses, a little nerd, a little curly. I had hair. I had a little curly hair. And one of our defensive tackles was going to be late for class, and he's running through the hall, just kind of dodging. Now this is a 6'4", 270-pound dude, and he just he hit me. And I'm not on purpose, of course, because if you're late for class, man, they have you run after practice on the varsity. So he's trying not to be late for class.
Exactly.
And so he hit me, and my books go flying, and I'm late for class. My glasses are all knocked loose and everything. And dude, it's out of a movie, literally out of a movie. As a little kid, I had tears welling up in my eyes, and I had to go to class. It was an all-boys school, so I had to man up, and not everybody see me crying going to class. Right. Yeah. Because everybody's in the hall already, and so I went home that night, and my mom happened to be off home at 10:30, and I cried. I was like, Mom, when am I ever going to grow? I'm never going to get big. She goes, Mijo. That's son in Spanish. She goes, Mijo. She goes, you're going to get big. I was like, I'm never going to get big and strong.
And look at you now. Look at you now, Mom.
And so, and that, and again, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't intentional. But it's like, okay, I have to do stuff. And if I want to be a football player, like that was, an all-state player. If I want to get to that level, I got to work. All right, I have to work in football. Well, what if I don't end up playing professional football? Well, then I got to work in school. Okay, well, then I got to do this. When I got a job, I got to do this. And I'm always just doing. It showed me just be relentless, because the more you do, it's crazy. The harder you work, the quote-unquote easier things become. And all of a sudden you get a lot more quote-unquote lucky, because people notice when people are working hard. People notice when you give a damn about your presentation, about the quality of work you do. And I thought it was a joke, because my dad was a janitor. My dad was a custodian, and he told me that too. It's like, just whatever you do, he goes, if you want to be a custodian, he said, just be the best one you can be. He goes, I don't want that for you. I want more, but be the best you can be. And that stuck with me. And he told me it's going to take hard work. Nothing comes easy. See, my mom worked 2 jobs for 2 years, or for 30 years, was an eye opener, man. And so relentless. That's the one word I think that would describe me, is relentless. I could do it with a smile on my face. I could do it when I'm happy, when I'm sad. It never deters me from the goal that I have. And if the path that I've taken doesn't get me there, then I'll create another path, but I'm going to get what I want. And I'm going to get what I want.
That's what's up, man. Well, hey, brother, I appreciate you taking the time to join me on my first podcast, and I appreciate your words. And man, like the next time definitely the next time I'm in Chicago, I'm hitting you up, and we're gonna go have some output, and we're gonna have some beers. It's gonna be a party, you know what I'm saying? Like, I already got it on my mind already. Output. So, man, thank you for being a guest on the show, and man, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. Remember, no story is worthless. No one is worthless. We out. Peace.
Deuces.